Martin reunion special. What to expect? Next up on Just the Talk. So let's talk about it. Let's go. And welcome to the Flicks, Picks, and the Nitpicks. And I am your humble host, Nov718. And we are going to get into the talk about Martin's reunion special. Now, I do not know what generation you are from, but if you did any growing up in the 90s, you know about Martin. And even more so than that, Martin has a very, very, very special place in your heart. And if you're anywhere a little older than that and even further and beyond, and you remember him from House Party and him and Tisha Campbell, and you know what I'm saying? And man, in fact, if you even remember what's happening now, Martin was in that shit. How about that bullshit? I didn't even remember that shit. You dig? But he was actually in it. I mean, if you go that far back with this television series, you'd have a very, very deep appreciation for Martin. I mean, it's just no bullshit. It was very much for the culture, very much in our vein. It was hip hop, it was hood, it was round the way, but it was regular. And you ain't really need all the gunshots and none of that. You know, we need to have a deep moment. None of that shit. It was just pure our comedy from us, the young ones. That was the movers and the shakers and the voice and the spokespeople of the culture that was really pushing hip hop, pushing the vibe, pushing that energy, pushing the style and the swagger and the vibe, all of that. And these were young adults coming out of the birth of that type of environment. And you could tell, like, they were the kids that was around watching people. Still remember niggas probably, you know, cardboard box break that dancing. They was probably around remembering that as little kids, had that in their memory. You know what I'm saying? They was around for like when hip hop really like crossed the fuck over. You feel me? You know what I mean? Like they grew up through all of that. They were that kind of generation, but you know, young adults, and they were educated. They were smart. They were funny. They had style, swagger, sex appeal. Most importantly, charm. You know what I'm saying? And even more than that, they all had like this well-woven chemistry that really made people want to gather around the TV box around. Yeah, I said TV box. You feel me? That's when the TV had a fat ass. You smell me? Yo, like this is when people gathered around the TV around a Thursday night. You know what I'm saying? Like people really had a good time with it. You would talk about it the next day. It'd be bugging. I mean, it just was what it was. Like, you know what I mean? When Mark got hit in the head by what is it? Oh shoot! I forget his name. Knocked out by Tommy Hearns. I mean, everybody talked about it the next day with his head swelled up. Like it really like crossed over, getting into like this vibe of like Married with Children. Now to think about it, it started to kind of like cross over into almost like cartoony satire. It worked. It really worked. It was hilarious. It was funny. It was fresh. It was, you know what I mean, down to earth. Very much, you know what I mean, young. You know what I mean? Young adult. You dig? Like if you was in your early 30s out of college, that type of vibe. It started from that vibe. Like they probably started off like in their mid to late 20s, like the very first episode, going into their early 30s, early to mid 30s. So you see them grow. I mean, the comedic timing that Martin had, but how he played off of everyone. Now, don't get me wrong, Cole got dumber and dumber as seasons went on, but it was just, like I said, like Martin kind of like took on a life of his own, almost like Married with Children did. Early in the season, it was what it was, but as time grew on, it got more cartoony with it, but it worked for the show as it grew and developed. You know what I mean? And Martin experienced the same thing. Cole just got dumber and dumber, and it just worked for what it needed to. Tommy was just hilarious, just the way he was. He was a great straight man, but even as a straight man, he was fucking hilarious. You know what I'm saying? Pam was a great wingman for like Tisha Campbell to play off of, and it's very ingenious for them to be so tight like sisters and family. You see them riding with each other all the time, but her and Martin cannot stand each other to the point where you can tell it's more of a brotherly love type of thing with them, and they all worked together the way they played off. I mean, it was just such a shame to see that series end the way it did, because whatever happened behind the scenes, as we all know, it kind of made it weird. Because it was like, wow, them of all people, I couldn't have believed anyone could have any more fun, and their chemistry was just so well written, and so you can't act their chemistry. You know what I mean? I don't even care if they didn't like each other on set. It was because they couldn't stand how much they liked each other. There's no way Martin and Gina did not acknowledge that they had great chemistry together. They just did. They just did. Like, there's so many different times I cannot believe they both did not lose themselves in the character, because the characters just came alive through them. Because they worked so well together. They played off each other just beautifully. Beautifully. Comedic timing, knowing how to bug out and be corny together and goof up together. They were just the perfect blend of each other, even though they both kind of seemed like, she kind of seemed like she was way out of his element. But at the same time, they were exactly alike for what they needed for them to be each other. Like, you would be like, nah, on paper and on the face, you'd be like, I can't see them together. But when you know, like, you can see Pam be like, nah, like, they do work. As much as I can't stand Martin, they are so much alike. You know what I'm saying? I think Pam would say that, because it just read so well on the screen and how it played out off the script. So for them to have ended the way they did, it just was like, I don't know how it could have crumbled so bad like that. You feel me? But it did. So for them to do a reunion episode, and especially after Tommy died, you know, I mean, it's a shame when Tommy died. Like, when people said that they tried to do it afterwards, and it's so great to know that they've, whatever it was that happened, and maybe we will talk a little bit later down the line between Tisha Campbell and Martin, but that they tried to do it together, but it just didn't work without Tommy, and I could totally believe that. Like, and I think they said maybe in an animated form, and I think that's where Martin can grow as an adult comedic thing, and they could play a great, beautiful homage to Tommy, and even carry the story going on forward. I think that will probably be the better direction for for Martin, at least for the time being. A late night raw rated R. Now you could go rated R with it, and they could curse, and it could be so casual, and you could take it a whole other level now. You could really do something very, very different with this series that could pay such a beautiful homage to Tommy as if Tommy was alive, and maybe it could be a buffer between Tommy then and Tommy being alive, to where you may pick up off of now. So at least you guys can, in that kind of like, add things that kind of would have played out in the animated series. I think that would probably be a great direction to go in. But to go back live action, you still have to address what happened to Tommy. And I don't think anybody would want to really deal with that. And I can understand, again, like, how it doesn't work. Like I said in some comment section before about it. I think when you really think about it, you don't realize how important Tommy was to the cast and the series. Like, each one was their own component. Now, to be honest, I do think you can do this show without Cole. If anybody, Cole. You would need Pam for Pam and Martin to have their vibe. You kind of need that. You need Tommy, because Martin needed someone to play off of that was more of a straight man, especially in his shit with Gina. Don't get me wrong, Cole was hilarious, but as time went on, Cole got dumber and dumber. Not to say that he wasn't funny and someone to bounce off of, but you couldn't carry a show with for a character like Martin to bounce off of Cole. He would probably come off like more like a bully the whole series, always just crapping on Cole. And I don't know if that will last as long with Tisha Campbell having a Pam, and Pam was no dummy. They were just hella tight sisters. Their thing was how much she couldn't stand Martin. You had Tommy was more Martin's straight man. He was a guy that would tell Martin he's bugging, you overdoing it. He was the homie. You feel me? Not to say that Cole wasn't a good, genuine best friend, but Tommy was more, I hate to say on his level, but like I said, they made Cole dumber and dumber and dumber. Not to say that you cannot clearly see where water seeps his own levels when it comes to Tommy and Cole. Martin and Cole, because Martin has his dumb moments, and don't get it twisted, Tommy can get like that too. You can see moments in them where Cole makes sense. But at the end of the day, their characters didn't go out like that. You know what I'm saying? And Tommy would have been seen as the smartest, the elder, the more experienced out all three of them. And I think you would have really needed that for Martin to work a lot better in terms of having an intimate cast. And I don't see anybody replacing that. You will probably have to introduce a new character or bring in an older character and make him be a mainstay to offset it. Maybe like Mama living with them. You know, you could probably do that. Bringing in Shanae more. Or maybe just bringing Bruh Matt in as a main character to bounce off of. And maybe Tommy being someone that calls in and, you know, you hear, hey, dog. And use his real voice sometimes over the phone, or recycle old things, if you will, or deep fake certain things with someone who can mimic his voice well enough that we could experience Tommy without it being at a disrespect. And that's the thing. At what point would it be like a disrespect? I don't know. Maybe if you do it the right amount of times. You know, I don't know. But I do. Or maybe bring in Tommy's sister. Someone that really could embody Tommy. Embody like a female version of Tommy. That could probably develop a great relationship with Martin over time, to kind of be more like Tommy in a way that people be like, you don't realize how much Tommy and them and her are so much alike, but she is such a female version of him. And it could be like a female best friend for Martin, and maybe that could be the new ingredient. But I don't know how else you could carry on this series without it being really Tommy being a deep void. You know, and you can't really mimic that again, that type of chemistry. You can't recast it per se. I don't know. Maybe you could only just move forward. Like I said, bring in a sister. Say he had a twin sister. Do something real creative like that. Someone very much like Tommy, to always make you feel like Tommy's still around and Tommy's still a part of it. You know, it would be the reason why you would have a Tommy picture in the background. You know, maybe even do a lot of cool flashbacks of back in the day, and that's how you bring back Tommy with a character that is like a young Tommy with a young Martin, and you could kind of bounce it around. And maybe even kind of that would kind of set you up for maybe a precursor to Martin. And how they all grew up together. That would be cool. Or another animated series of a precursor where you could keep Tommy around. Because it really would be hard to do it. Now, let's get more into the reunion special, because I was really going off, but I was really thinking about it, because I did speak about it in a comment section at one point about all the creative things that you could probably do, but the deep void that Tommy does bring, him not being there. But now to get into the reunion, how are we going to approach this reunion special without dealing with the elephant in the room? And I would just go out the gate and talk about it. You know what I mean? I would go out the gate, and this could go on very long. So I would just nip it in the bud from the very beginning and open up with that and then lead into it. Like, I start off opening, like, you know, the backstory and the intro, and go into, well, how it ended, and then with the lawsuit between and the accusations between Tisha Campbell and Martin, which I'm sure they're not going to get too much in depth with. But, I would come in and just say, we got to address it, because people are going to go ask. Because it was weird to not see two people that were so well... If I didn't know better, you really made these characters look like they existed. These guys... They were so down to earth and goofy and funny and talented. Like, even with, if you ever been around someone that even in their whatever they're doing in their life, but for some reason they're so much more talented than you can imagine. And Tisha Campbell just randomly singing so excellently. Even Pam, like, it showed you how creative and talented these characters were. And even for people who want to add the black onto it, it was just us. I didn't ever need to add the black to it. To me, it was just us. It was just so us. You know, they singing songs that I would hear in the house. You feel me? Like, this was us in the 90s. It just was what it was. So I would just get this shit out the way and just get, like precursor it, and then just jump right into it and say, hey, this is what it is. So, I say a couple cool shit to ask a couple questions. I get like 5 to 10 minutes in, and I'm like, now I really just want to get into it. This was 2 hours, 5 to 10 minutes in, and I'm getting right into it. Because we could burn 30 to 40 minutes just on this. Easy. Because I would want us to find out what really happened. And if they can't talk about it, if it's a bullshit answer, I'd be like, all right, basically in that show, you don't want to get revisited too much. All right, fine, I get it. Boom. If you're going to give me a soft shoe answer, but I would ask it because that's what people are going to want to know. Fine. Especially in the Me Too era and all that, people are going to want to know. Fine. Moving right along. My biggest thing would have been, how did everybody else feel hearing about it? How did you approach it? Were you cool with each person after the fact? How was it coming back to the set? Did anybody talk about it? Were there clauses in which how to approach it because you had to film it in different locations? How did you both really feel about not being able to really film with each other even afterwards? These are the kind of questions that I'm really interested in. How did the cast feel about it? Did you feel like you had to get brought into it? Did anybody ask you guys about what happened? Any weird questions about it? Did you ask anyone about it? Were you even surprised when it came out, or were you not surprised, and do you want to just leave it there? I'm going to ask the questions, and I will let them know from the very beginning. I'm going to be very transparent. I don't want to go there. You have a right to not answer, but I'm going to ask every question. I don't want to look stupid, but I want to ask every question. You could tell me respectively what I decline to answer that. This is what I will say, and we could go there, but I'm not going to soft shoot. We got to go there. And then afterwards, then I get into the story about how matter of fact, I get into the situation with Stan, because I didn't realize Stan had a whole issue, because Stan, not Uncle Stan, but Stan from the radio station, they said that he found out he got fired after he got shot, and he was in the hospital, I think, recouping. And I didn't even know he got shot. I read about this not that long ago, within the past year. And it was crazy. I was like, oh shit, I didn't even know that. So this is crazy, how he got fired. And we need to go there. It's interesting if he'll show up. And if he doesn't show up, will we bring it up? I would bring it up and ask him very candidly, is that something that, would you like to bring it up for him to be out there? I want it to be very transparent, because these questions are going to come out after the fact. So let's touch on it now. Let's get out the way. Let's make this a real show. Let's do the shit. And you could respectively decline, like, hey, I don't want to talk about that, boom, 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 boom. I'm going to get all of that out the way. I just let them know I'm getting a lot of questions out the way. So, and you could respectively decline. I'm not going to be salacious about it, but I'm going to get right to it. And then afterwards, we're going to get into the show. like to me, I just want to get over the bullshit. And then we'll get right into like all the fun stuff and your favorite episodes and what made you want to do the characters. What made you want to do Shanae? Who are these characters inspired from? Who were the ideas from it? What was the background information behind each and every one of these characters, from Roscoe to Brother Man to, let's talk to the writers. Let's see if the writers... were you going to bring back the old writers that were going to be involved in the up-to-date episode? Let's even talk about that, because I would love to spend 30 minutes on what was the idea even after the fact. What brought you to the communication for Tisha Campbell and Martin to get back together to talk about a reunion episode? Was this in talks before Tommy died or afterwards? Did the conversation or is... when it went public, was that really the first time, or were bridges being brought together? I want to know these type of questions. I mean, this could be a two-parter. I mean, I haven't seen the first Prince of Bel-Air reunion episode. I do want to watch it and do a in-depth conversation about it. But I mean, I really want to know the background politics of these things. How do you approach this? How do you approach shooting? Do you have lawyers on set after the fact? Again, where the characters were inspired by, can we talk to the people that they know that they were inspired by, and can we talk to them and see how they felt about it? I mean, that would be pretty cool. I mean, it'd be real interesting to meet who Shanae really was inspired by, and see, can we see that in her, or see old pictures of what she used to look like that inspired that, because I'm sure she's not dressed like that anymore, I just think it would be very fascinating how you would want to really approach the reunion episode from top to bottom, back to front. How much of this was improv? How much was in the moment? How much of this was just really written, and how much input did each of the casts bring to it? I want to talk about Cole and Martin having their issues. We need to get that out the way. Matter of fact, I get that out the way after Martin and Gina, the Cole thing, and then the Stan thing. And then I go into like all the fun stuff. If I'm going to try and keep it to like a 3-hour reunion special, yeah. Because you could do something and keep it dense and do everything I'm talking about. And you would have so much B-roll. I mean, I just think that there's so much you could really discuss and make a very well-rounded, very in-depth reunion episode that could touch on everything and still be respectful, very tasteful, but really dig deep on the breadth of what was going on and the emotional response and relationships that was built between each and every one. Because like I said, I mean, their chemistry cannot be denied, and that'd be something that I will really continue to talk about. And I would actually want to talk to the cast and directors and see if we can really unearth their demo tapes, if you will, or is that what it is called? Yeah, well, whatever. You know what I mean? They're casting tapes. They're and show it to them in real time. Like, you could make this very fly. Like, have a dope set that's reminiscent of this of Martin, elevated, round, lit up from the ground, but with the same type of couch and set up in the background, but then elevated. And then you can set it up the right kind with the same type of color scheme and have a nice screen all the way around, but have the screen in the background look like be pictured like that would be the screensaver of the apartment of Martin. And then when you're talking, then you point to the screen, and the screen will go and show like their demo tapes when you want to talk about certain things, just to see their reaction. You can make this very artistic, very dope, very much of the 90s, and make a two-parter of it that could be like excellent. And it could be part like documentary, and you can make it part reunion when you bring them all out, and you could also talk, but and jump between the two, you know what I mean? And people could change up, like you have it when you just talking to Martin, talking to the writers, next segment talking to so and so, then bringing everyone together, then bringing them both, then bringing each one in to discuss each part by themselves, and so everyone could have a well-rounded and be respectable about each corner of the conversation, and be like, this is what we wanted to do. And even preface it, we really wanted to treat this conversation with care. This was very well articulated. We wanted the conversations and the questions to be very fresh. We didn't want the actors to really be briefed on the questions per se, but what I would do is pass it over to the lawyers if we had to, just out of respect, but hope the lawyers wouldn't tell them the questions, but know that it's going to be respectably done. And then you can have the lawyers in the background during the taping, but we're really going to be respectable, but we're going to ask real tough questions, but it's going to be done with respect. And all you have to do is say, I don't want to answer that, let's move that right along, but with respect, and I will let it be known, like, hey, we're gonna always make sure that, just to make sure it's not out of disrespect, but we also discuss this, and we say it from the very beginning. Hey, look, they're not really knowing what we're gonna ask, but we're gonna ask some real questions. And the right people looked at the questions and felt confident that you can deal with these type of questions that we threw out there. And found ways to ask it without you knowing what the questions was, so that when it was asked, you could answer as much in the moment as possible to get real honest answers, and most important, honest reactions. And you don't have to answer every question, but we will ask the question. We may push a little bit, but then, when you really, you shouldn't have to say it more than at least 3 times. The most 3 times, and we'll move on to the next question. But we're going to try and push a little further, and that's how they should approach it. At least when you're going to ask the type of questions that I'm asking, the way I look at it. You feel what I'm saying? Because I think that's how you have real entertaining show, in depth, with respect. But you can still ask the questions to show that. Let the audience see how they respond. It's going to be, we just want your reaction. You know what I'm saying? But it's not going to be no dickhead questions. We're going to keep it within the realm of respect. But we're going to get as close. We're going to ask the question, but we're going to be respectful about how we get to it. You feel what I'm saying? Because we want to know what we want to know as much as we can, and as much as you're willing to give to us. And I would ask individually and then together, but then I will also have it in a way where it's done with respect, and I will let them know, hey, I want everyone's gonna see it, how it will be choreographed, and then it will be all about its presentation. Maybe you have pre interviews where you ask them individually, and then you will go to the screen and go to them. We asked you this and you told us this. Now, I would want to ask you now, is there anything that you would like to add or want to be on, like maybe like you want to clarify? Oh yeah, and then you could clarify this point or add on, and boom, boom, boom. And then you bring everyone together, and then you be like, so what do you feel now listening to everyone? Well, we've already spoke, yada, 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 but at least all you guys, we as an audience could really get to see you guys talk about it openly, because it was a public matter. It had to be public. Because people noticed when you guys were on set and in the same frame together, and this is not the show. That's not the show that it was, and how it ended. And and like I said, getting into the questions about how professionalism with you and Cole not really seeing eye to eye, and when did that happen, or was it always like that? How did you get through it, and all the mechanisms as artists, and the fact that you had to mend things, meaning that you guys meant more to each other than you believe. Basically in that show, maybe it was so personal because at some point y'all was still peoples, even though you got relatives that you might not jack no more, you might not rock with no more, but on some level they still who they are to you. You feel me? And maybe there was some like rock where that anchored all of them, for that conversation to happen between Cole and Martin, that they can like have that conversation and move forward. And then, like I said, get into the Stan thing, because that Stan thing is very interesting, and really dive into what, and I'd have a whole segment on Stan, and then bring Stan into it and talk to them, and then talk about other shows and that had fallen outs and yada yada yada. And then I will close out with, well, not close out, then you really get into the show, and like I said, talk to the writers and the directors, and like all the things that went into making the show. And you might go into like certain cuts of pre-interview scenes and seeing what they would say now, and when you have everyone all together and reminiscing and asking them funny stories, and go through bloopers. I would end it like I'd have like 30 minutes on just showing these guys their blooper reels and having a blooper version of it. Like, this could be so fucking hilarious, funny, with highs and lows, and it could be well choreographed if you ask the right questions, and it gets real deep and personal, and you can really see the struggles of writing and getting to a show and series like this, to getting known and what it took, and then maybe even finding if there were elements of what it was like to be black and shop in a show like this at HBO at the time, things of that nature, because I think HBO had helped produce it, getting it on Fox, and all the background, like were producers from House Party involved, because so many people from House Party was kind of involved, and Can It Play kind of like showed up. I mean, it just all the stuff that goes into it. It just, I think they could really, if they do this right, this reunion episode could be just something that no one's ever seen before, and especially now for black people to be at the forefront of doing something like that. It could set the tone, especially on how we interact with each other when we have differences of opinion, and how we do our exposés, if you will, or interviews, if you will, when we're dealing and covering the hard questions. But it's more about how we choreograph and go about it, so that it's not salacious. It's not like the Wendy Williams experience. It's more kind of investigative and on the spot, but done with respect and a certain level of professionalism and prerequisites and rules of engagement that will be respected at all times, to make it not only entertaining but very much in the moment and capturing. It's all about the real honest response to it. And that would be kind of dope to do and kind of dope to see, and I hope that we do see it. From what I understand, it was recorded, but I thought it would be out sometime at the end of February, that you know what I mean. And that's why I was like looking to see, didn't it come out already? But I believe it was just recorded mid to late February, but I don't know if they actually have a listing for when it will come out. But when it does, I'm gonna make sure I watch it. You know what it is. We're gonna just talk about it. You already know what it is. And as always, leave it in the comments below, and you guys are just gonna jump into the talk and get in the conversation with me, because I think this will be good for the culture, man. And I think it would submit a lot of closures personally for the whole cast. And I think it would be great to see the tribute that they would give to Tommy on that too, because I'm sure they got that on there as well. So these are my expectations. They better talk about definitely you gotta talk about the Martin and Gina stuff, and then I really do expect a big memorial for Tommy, a good remembering segment of some of his classic episodes. And I would love to hear like all these guys' memories of him, and have like even a blooper reel just dedicated to just him. And talk about how it was to try to keep a straight face, and who was the worst one that couldn't keep a straight face, who was the funniest on set. I mean, it'd be funny if it wasn't even Martin. It was just somebody else was the funniest that trying to keep a straight face to them. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was Tommy. I think they could do just so much. Bring Brumman out, bring all the other characters that showed up, man. I think it'd just be real cool to see. And even I would like a moment where they even talk, and even bring Jamie Foxx out, talk about that Shanae and Wanda team up that they were supposed to do that they never did, and just talk about the failed film. I think that'd be kind of cool to have like a good 10-15 minutes on it and talk to the cast about that. That'd be real cool. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I had a real good time chopping it up with you about Martin. I had a lot of great memories with Martin, man. I grew up like really watching the show. The Tommy Hearns episode was just like, I remember dying to that. The episode where they would just like they stole his tape or some shit like that. They stole something from Martin and they dressed all black, and they kind of like ripped off the New Jack City episode where he was petting the dog and the dog tipped over the little stuffed dog, and Tommy couldn't even keep a straight face during it. Like, no one could keep a straight face to that, when Martin would just go off on that. Like, oh man, we're just so fucking hilarious, man. I remember the shit with the fucking when they went on that tropical like trip on that like from like hell, and that fucking like rat jumped out of nowhere. That shit was just hilarious, that they were just fighting the rat. And Pam and Mark was jibbing at the jab. I grew up on this shit, man. Thursday nights, man, you already knew what it was, B. Like, oh man, these were some like rich episodes of like classic like TV growing up, man. You already know, man. But just let me know, do you like what are your fondest memories growing up watching this show too, man? Leave it in the comments below, man. Was it like a family experience, or did everybody go into their close quarters and you just hear each other laughing in different rooms because you all just watching it? What's going on, man? We gotta really chop it up about this, because Martin is the shit. It was the shit growing up, oh man. And I think that reunion episode is just long overdue, and I do believe that this is something that we could revisit again. Do you think that they should revisit it? You think that it's a lost cause, even though they've said it's a lost cause for the reboot? Not so much a reboot, but the continuation of the series, especially without Tommy. Do you think that that's something that they should really look into again? I don't know. I don't know. Without Tommy, it's just not the same. I would like to see, I don't know. As long as that chemistry is still there and the comedy is right, and they could bring this fresh, we're the new elders of that age group, and just like maybe have another set of casts, like clique of friends, like an anti version of them or a bizarro version of them that they are either rival or they link up with as well, so that they can have a group to bounce off of, and a good funny comedic bunch that complements them as well. I think that would be very refreshing for the series. Some new characters maybe that Tisha Campbell could take on, or Pam could take on an alternate character and dress up and be someone else. I think that would be actually kind of dope. Just something to refresh the brand. I think if we can't bring Tommy back, and I don't know how I feel about addressing him passing, one thing we can do to fill that void, even though we're not really filling the void, but we just need someone for Martin to bounce off of, is maybe go a female route and go with like Tommy's twin sister, fraternal twin sister, or sister nonetheless, that they all grew up together with. But Tommy, however we need to write Tommy elsewhere, she somehow shows up in the mid to end, maybe like if in a season of 12 episodes, she shows up in the 4th episode as a new cast member. I think that would be dope. Or if we bring her in, she's already in the mix and we just gonna just talk like we're just in this slice of life. What's happened then already happened. This is where they are now. And if they all linked up together, then fine. Or you could do it like I would probably set them in different areas and they all move back by the end of the first season. Them linking up, having their different lives, and what happens by the time you enter the next end of the season 1, they are somehow moved back into the same environment. And I would do something very dramatically different. I would make the whole first season them in their separate corners, but they're calling each other from when Martin has to now move back, and the whole first season is what happens that makes them have to move back. But maybe once or twice they go fly back to Detroit or wherever Pam and them is at, and they link up. Maybe they find the old apartment back for sale again. Maybe they have a kid. You know what I mean? Like Martin and Gina does have a kid. And maybe we have kids that are just as goofy as they are. And maybe this could be the married with children evolution of what Martin is. I think that's the way we will go. You know what? We're going to have to talk about this again, because I think I came up with a great and excellent sales pitch for the next season of Martin, and go the route of Married with Children. And they have 2 kids. The daughter's maybe a little bit more like Martin, and the son is a little bit more like Tisha, or maybe the son sings, but he's more like Martin and sings, and the daughter is like a YouTuber, like her dad, but more like Gina and how she approaches it. Maybe she's like for like a YouTuber for lawyers or something like that. I don't know, but something like to that effect, just to mix it up a little bit. And then how you could carry on the legacy is, say Pam had a kid with Tommy. Maybe that's a good thing too. And just say Tommy, he's overseas for his job, and that's the joke. He has no job. I don't know. Maybe that will be the thing. But the sister ended up moving in with Pam, and they're like besties, and you can kind of do it like that, and Cola's still around. Ooh, I think I got a good idea in the sales pitch. We're going to get back into it. But we're coming to the end of this. This was a good one. I'm having a lot of fun with this. This is another one of those Just the Talks. Let me know if you enjoyed this. What else would you like to talk about? Like throw it out there, man. I want to know what else is on you guys' mind out there, man. Make this as much as your show as it is mine. And keep in mind, I still got other things coming down the pipeline. We're going to try a lot of other things. Let me know what you think about the predictions, because I just did that for the Batman. Leave it all in the comments below. You already know what it is. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time. And as always, till I have a better outro. Chill.